should be on Tryhackme credentials harvesting, Active Directory credentials harvesting at this point. However, we have encountered so many technical errors and problems, all of which involve DNS, that we are way behind, and we're currently just starting the enumeration room. So that's a little disheartening, but we'll get through it. I mean, the good thing is we're coming up with a bunch of troubleshooting survival skills, so that's good. Those will serve us well. It's a learning experience. Anyways, I should do this before I launch the stream, but we're gonna go ahead and get our OpenVPN configured. We're no longer on breaching AD, we're now on AD enumeration. Download configuration file, and as per usual, we're gonna rename it to something that's easier to remember and type. So I'm just gonna call it ade.ovpn. And if this is anything like the breaching Active Directory room, we're going to go through, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different configuration files. We can get rid of these. And they're nice souvenirs. It commemorates how hard we had to work to troubleshoot DNS. Let's get rid of those and just start up. Well, the other thing we should probably do if we want to be good pen testers is create a separate folder here for AD enumeration, and let's just go back. All right, and we've renamed it. Let's open up, and let's see. First, we have to do change directory to downloads, and then sudo openvpn. But in this case, it is ADE. A first of no doubt many at this point. All right. And so that's up and running. Initialization sequence completed. That's how we know it's working. And we're going to close that out. But then we're going to have to configure DNS for this room as well, I think. So let's take a look at that. All right. So that IP address that I will forever remember, 10.200.54.101, that was the IP address of our last domain controller. This time, the 54 is a 49. So I'm probably going to type that incorrectly a number of times, but we'll see. And then we've got an IIS server, distributor server, MDT again, and another jump server. All right, let's see if it gets into what we have to do. So it's the same name, I think it's just a different IP address. So we can use all the same commands we have here on my Cyberspaceman Mike cheat sheet page. Although, okay, so what has our adapter been renamed as? Okay, so it's a good thing we looked this up. So we're going to have to substitute breach AD with Enumerating. I don't know how you're going to pronounce that. However you want, it's fine with me. It's no skin off my nose. So let's read a bit and then configure DNS, see if there's any additional information we have to glean from this. This network is the continuation of the breaching AD network. Please make sure to complete this network before continuing with this one. Also note that we will discuss AD objects extensively. If you need a refresher, have a quick reskim of this room. No. Now that we have our very first set of valid Active Directory credentials, we will explore the different methods that can be used to enumerate AD. And enumeration is basically taking inventory, listing, numbering, identifying different machines, users, that sort of thing. Mapping out the network and its users. AD enumeration. Once we have the first set of AD credentials and the means to authenticate with them on the network, a whole new world of possibilities opens up. We can start enumerating various details about the AD setup and structure with authenticated access, even super low privileged access. During a red team engagement, this will usually lead to us being able to perform some form of privilege escalation or lateral movement to gain additional access until we have sufficient privileges to execute and reach our goals. In most cases, enumeration and exploitation are heavily entwined. Once an attack path shown by the enumeration phase has been exploited, enumeration is again performed from this new privileged position as shown in the diagram below. So we have initial recon, initial compromise, establish foothold, escalate privileges, internal recon, move laterally, maintain presence, and then complete mission. So you can kind of see this is a variation of the Lockheed Martin kill chain from your Security Plus studies. But it basically loops here in the middle portion. Learning objectives. In this network, we will cover several methods that can be used to enumerate AD. This is by no means a complete list, as available methods are usually highly situational and dependent on the acquired breach. However, we will cover the following techniques for enumerating AD. The AD snap-ins of the Microsoft Management Console, the net commands of Command Prompt, the AD RSAT commandlets of PowerShell, and Bloodhound. Connecting to the network, attack box. If you are using, so system, if you're anything like me, system D resolve isn't going to work, and so that's the reason for having this cheat sheet here. So we're just going to have to adapt some of it for this particular network. All right, so let's get started with that. Resolve. I'm not going to autocomplete that because there's too much to really change around here. DNS, and what was our enum AD, and the domain IP, the domain controller's IP is 10.200.49.101, correct? Why am I looking up here? I am correct. And then our next cheat sheet command is what here? Interface. That's the word I'm looking for. These are interfaces. And I think this is the, we got to change the interface name. Why didn't that work? Usually Control-Shift-V paste things without the formatting. Okay. Again, doing the same thing twice, over and over again and expecting different results may be the definition of insanity, but it's also the definition of red teaming, apparently. So what do we have to change here? Enum AD. Now, if we ns lookup, is that the name of the jump server? Why am I looking up there again? What went wrong? What about the domain controller? Oh, it's going to be one of those days, huh? Where we have to troubleshoot DNS again for an hour or so. This is our IP address. I guess we should first see if we can ping this. And we can, so we can connect, we just can't resolve names. Well, like I said, doing the same thing multiple times and expecting different results, the very definition of red teaming, so let's send those commands again. Maybe it has a different... No, it's Tryhackme.com. Oh, I should sent this one first. All right, let's see. Still nothing, huh? All right, we're going to try to disconnect the... Oh, we should probably try to reset it. Let's see here. I think they have the command for resetting. Let's try this a couple of times. Let's send those commands again. Nope, it's not going to work. Bear with me for a second. The only solution I've ever had work for this is rebooting the entire VM. There's a... we can try disconnecting the VPN and reconnecting again. I'm looking up the commands for those. All right, so let's try this. Fully expecting it not to work. And I think we should go so far as to regenerate our OVPN configuration file. And already we're getting little, what would you call them? All right. Let's just do this. Okay, so we're no longer in downloads for whatever reason. Alright, so it says device or resource busy. That's because it looks like it didn't successfully disconnect the current VPN connection. Here's another way to do it. Oh, VPN client at my VPN service. Where am I getting that name? Let's do... Does this give us our name? All right, rather than try to find a new way to do this, I'm just going to restart the VPN.
Wow, really? Yeah, so that's behind my back. I did not expect that to be dead on. Wow.
And I'm going to take a sip of my Gatorade. Stay hydrated for what's likely to be a lengthy troubleshooting session once again. Can I restore my session? I can. All right. I wonder if our previous OpenVPN connection settings configuration file will be valid, or should we just go ahead and regenerate another one just to be sure and safe? Let's regenerate another one. It won't take long. And once again, we're going to rename this. Okay, just read that on your own. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce that again. That was scary how I mangled that. All right. And let's see if we can successfully configure DNS this time. At A, our interface name has changed. So we're going to have to substitute some of the commands here. The window's open so that the cats can get in and out. And that translates into bugs. I think all we have to do is change the interface name here. I'm not feeling up to troubleshooting DNS for an hour tonight, so I don't know how far we're going to get with this. But caveat, I reserve the right to end the stream at any time I so choose in terms of being frustrated. So now what do we have to do? NSLOOKUP to the main controller. Hey, it worked. All right, so have you tried unplugging it? Once again, that is the solution. All those commands trying to drop the VPN connection and restart everything, those don't work. Why would we ever try those? We went through this, went through connecting to the network. DNS may be reset on the attack box roughly every 3 hours. If this occurs, you will have to restart the system resolved service. If your attack box terminates, and we tried that, didn't we? And it didn't really work. Did we? What were some of our commands here? Yeah, we tried to restart the network manager and that didn't seem to have any effect. So my advice, just unplug it and plug it back in. You should also take the time to make note of your VPN IP using ifconfig or ip-a. I prefer ip-a because that gives us our interface names. Make note of the IP of the probably ifconfig does too. Let's run it just out of curiosity. Yeah, so it does. This is your IP and the associated interface that you should use when performing the attacks in this task. I think you can get that IP address from here as well if we refresh. Yeah, so that's our internal virtual IP address. Excuse me. Other hosts, if you're going to use your own attack machine, blah, 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 we did all this. Initialization sequence means it works. Sudo system CTL restart network manager, I tried that. Oh, you can use GUI menu to configure DNS, but why? Requesting your credentials. Simulate an AD breach. You will be provided with your first set of AD credentials. Once your networking setup has been completed on your attack box, navigate to this here. Get credentials. We are Ricky Barker, password CSEC8799. All right, so rather than do this the elite hacker way, I'm just going to go into the file system. Kali, Tryhackme, breaching AD. Nope. I've lived in breaching AD so long, I don't know anything else. I don't know how to function outside of breaching AD, but here we go. Task 1 folder, and create document, empty file, creds.txt, create. We're going to open that up. There's a better way to do this. I've seen people use some sort of echo command to accomplish this in the command line. I'm not there yet. I don't feel that confident yet, so we're just going to do it the easy GUI way. Let's see. To request your click the Get Credentials button to receive your credential pair that can be used for initial access. This credential pair will provide you RDP and SSH access to thmjump1.za.tryhackme.com. The jump server can be seen as a jump host into this environment, simulating a foothold that you have achieved. Jump hosts are often targeted by the red team since they provide access to a new network segment. You can use Remina or any other similar remote desktop client. I prefer just our desktop to connect to this host for RDP. Remember to specify the domain of za.tryhackme.com when connecting. Tasks 2 and 3 will require RDP access. For SSH access, you can use the following command. When prompted, provide your account's associated password. Although RDP can be used for all tasks, SSH is faster and can be used for tasks 4, 5, and 6. Got it. I have completed the breaching AD network and am ready to learn about AD enumeration techniques. I am. I promise you I am. I am clicking complete like a madman, and it's not working. You all see this, right? That I'm clicking it. Let's refresh. That's the problem. The page has gone stale. And all the way back down here. Complete. No, I promise you. I am so ready. All right, let's next one's not working either. I've requested my I have, but you don't seem to believe me. Does anybody have any suggestions? I know you're out there. Let's move along. I want to see if I can answer any of these other ones. So, what native Windows binary allows us to inject credentials legitimately into memory? So it's probably going to be an exe. So let's just find exe run as.exe. I probably don't have to copy that. I can probably remember that as. I did previously. I did. I turned off the VM and turned it back on, and that did okay. So it's working here. I turned out to get DNS working. I had to turn off the VM and turn it back on, but that didn't solve this problem. I'm not sure why it's working now. But let's try doing the same thing again and expecting different results. Oh, so that works. I'm not insane. Neither am I. All right. Eric, thank you for joining us. This is going to be a comedy of errors as per usual, but we'll get through it. Before jumping into AD objects and enumeration, let's first talk about credential injection methods. From the breaching AD network, you would have seen that credentials are often found without compromising the domain joined machine. I think they're referring to like OSINT methods, but there may be more to it that I'm not picking up on right now. Specific enumeration techniques may require a particular setup to work. Windows versus Linux. I'm not going to read that quote from Sun Tzu. You can get incredibly far doing AD enumeration from a Kali machine. Still, if you genuinely want to do in-depth enumeration and even exploitation, you need to understand and mimic your enemy. Thus, you need a Windows machine. This will allow us to use several built-in methods to stage our enumeration and exploits. In this network, we'll explore one of these built-in tools called the runAs.exe binary. So I think they're advocating using like a Windows VM to accomplish that, but I think we can do the same thing just working from the jump box. Run as explained. Have you ever found AD credentials but nowhere to log in with them? Not really, not yet at least. Run as may be the answer you've been looking for. In security assessments, you will often have network access and have just discovered AD credentials but have no means or privileges to create a new domain joined machine. So we need the ability to use those credentials on a Windows machine we control. If we have the AD credentials in the format of username password, we can use runAs, a legitimate Windows binary, to inject the credentials into memory. This is crazy. I was not aware that such a thing existed. The usual runAs command would look something like this. runAs.exe /not only /user. Notice that the slashes are going in the Windows direction. Domain, and then backwards facing slash, username cmd.exe. And so what jumps out at me right now is that there's not a parameter for password. Not only, since we are not domain joined, we want to load the credentials for network authentication, but not authenticate against a domain controller. So commands executed locally on the computer will run in the context of your standard Windows account, but any network connections will occur using the account specified here. What? User. Here we provide the details of the domain and the username. It is always a safe bet to use the fully qualified domain name, FQDN, instead of just the NetBIOS name of the domain, since this will help with resolution. cmd.exe. This is a program we want to execute once the credentials are injected. This can be changed to anything, but the safest bet is cmd.exe, since you can then use that to launch whatever you want with the credentials injected. Once you run this command, you will be prompted to supply a password. Note that since we added the net only parameter, the credentials will not be verified directly by a domain controller. What? So that it will accept any password. This is bonkers. Crazy talk. So that's why we're not seeing what I had assumed would happen was when we typed this in, it would prompt us for a password, and that's why there wasn't a password parameter, but that doesn't seem to be the case. It will accept any password. We still need to confirm that the network credentials are loaded successfully and correctly. Note, if you use your own Windows machine, you should make sure, you could probably use your physical machine too. I think that's what they're alluding to. You should make sure that you run your first command prompt as administrator. This will inject an administrator token into CMD. If you run tools that require local administrative privileges from your run as spawn CMD, the token will already be available. This does not give you administrative privileges on the network, okay? I was wondering that, but will ensure that any local commands you execute will execute with administrative privileges. It's always DNS. This is correct. We know this from experience, painfully. It's hard-won knowledge. Note, these next steps you only need to perform if you use your own Windows machine for this exercise. However, it is good knowledge to learn how to perform, since it may be helpful on red team exercises. After providing the password, a new command prompt window will open. Now we still need to verify that our credentials are working. The most surefire way to do this is to list sysvol. Any AD account, no matter how low privileged, can read the contents of the sysvol directory. Sysvol is a folder that exists on all domain controllers. We've seen this before. It is a shared folder storing the group policy objects and information along with any other domain-related scripts. It is an essential component for Active Directory since it delivers these GPOs to all computers on the domain. Domain-joined computers can then read these GPOs and apply the applicable ones, making domain-wide configuration changes from a central location. Before we can list Sysvol, we need to configure our DNS. Sometimes you are lucky, and internal DNS will be... We have never been lucky, and internal DNS will never be configured for you automatically through DHCP or the VPN connection. But not always, like this Tryhackme network. All right, it is good to understand how to do it manually. Your safest bet for a DNS server is usually a domain controller. Right, 10.200.49.101. Using the IP of the domain controller, which I just said, we can execute the following commands in a PowerShell window. Are we supposed to be doing this right now? Domain controller's IP, get net adapter name, Ethernet, select object, span properly if index. This is in PowerShell. Set DNS client server address, interface index, index server. Okay. Of course, Ethernet will be whatever interface is connected to the Tryhackme network. We can verify that DNS is working by running the following. NS lookup and okay. We should now resolve to the DCIP since this is where the fully qualified domain name is being hosted. Now that DNS is working, we can finally test our credentials. We can use the following command to force a network-based listing of the Sysvol directory. I am not good at reading all this. I apologize. I will get better as time goes on. You're joining me at the very inception of my live streaming Tryhackme career, so cut me some slack. We won't go too much in depth now into the contents of Sysvol, but note that it is also good to enumerate its contents since there may be some additional AD credentials lurking there. IP versus host names. Question, is there a difference between dir za.tryhackme.com Sysvol and dir the IP Sysvol? And why the big fuss about DNS? I was actually wondering this. With all the DNS problems we've encountered, I was wondering why they didn't just provide us with IP addresses for everything. Now in this room, they provide us with all the IP addresses except for the distributor server, but in the previous one there were plenty we weren't given the IP addresses of, and I was wondering why that wasn't a thing. And here they are answering my I suck at PowerShell. I'm at the point where if they're not providing me with what to type in, I don't know what I'm doing either. So and that's kind of, if there's any benefit to watching me do this, it's that I'm a complete beginner at some of this stuff, and so I'm going to encounter all the same problems and hopefully be able to successfully troubleshoot them for the good of humanity. All right, so here we are. What's the difference? There is quite a difference, and it boils down to the authentication method being used. When we provide the hostname, network authentication will attempt first to perform Kerberos authentication. Since Kerberos authentication uses hostnames embedded in the tickets, if we provide the IP instead, we can force the authentication type to be NTLM. So it seems to be some sort of downgrade attack. Well, on the surface, this does not matter to us right now. It is good to understand these slight differences since they can allow us to remain more stealthy during a red team assessment. In some instances, organizations will be monitoring for overpass and pass the hash attacks. Forcing NTLM authentication is a good trick to have in the book to avoid detection in these cases. That's interesting. All right. Using injected credentials. Now that we have injected, we did that already? I have not done that already. So I think, are we supposed to be on our jump server at this point? we're supposed to... All it says is that you can use the command. It doesn't say to do that right now, but... Alright, so we're supposed to be on our jump server, and we're not. Let's take care of that. And what was our username? Good thing I copied it down. Alright, here we go. Let's go to the end and then go back to the beginning. Control-Shift-V, hit enter, and here's our password. We're just going to copy that in. Alright, we are Ricky Barker, and we are on the jump server. Now, we have to do the run as command, which is here. Let's look at the parameters. Not only user... So I think they mean ZA Tryhackme.com. I think that's the domain we inject there. I'm going to be embarrassed if it isn't, though. What was our name? Ricky Barker? Let's do the domain first. ZA.tryhackme.com. And the password was something 999. It says attempting to start. It doesn't really tell us if we're successful or not. I don't know if by domain they mean the entire domain or just the... All right. So there's no flags yet. So I think we can just not only. We can just answer these and move on to the next task. What network folder on the domain is controller? Oh my God. What network folder on a domain controller is accessible by any authenticated AD account and stores GPO information? That is sysvol. When performing dir za.tryhackme.com sysvol, what type of authentication is performed by default? Kerberos. And then ideally you get to downgrade it to NTLM by passing in the IP instead. All right. So far so good. I don't know how far we're going to get tonight. I'm not feeling really up to it. But we'll see. You should have completed the AD basics room by now. a long time ago, where different AD objects were initially introduced. In this task, it'll be assumed that you understand what these objects are. Kind of. I wouldn't assume that, but let's go with it. Connect to THM Jump 1 using RDP and your provisional credentials from task 1 to perform this task. All right. Where's my... We're going to start a new command line. Our desktop. And what's the jump server IP? 248. Uh, 10.200.49.248. Yeah, sure. I trust it. Let's go. This is not what we encountered previously using our desktop. Failed to connect. Cred SSP required by server. Check if the server has disabled TLS version. If yes, use V option. We might have to learn about this Ramina, our desktop service that I've been hearing so much about. But let's try again using the V option just for exploratory. What? Okay, so that's just verbose. Do we have to put it before the V? Before the IP? I'm going to consult with ChatGPT real quick about our desktop. Okay. Cred, SSP. I think we have to pass in the username and password. So let's try that. Ricky dot Previously when I ran our desktop, it just spawned a GUI where you typed in your username and password. CVSEC 7899. Am I close at all? Let's find out. CSEC. That should okay. That should have been easy enough to remember. And yet I didn't. Let's see if we have any luck with this, and if not, we're going to move on to Ramina or whatever it's called. Accession, okay. Failed to initialize. NLA, do you have the correct Kerberos TGT initialized? Is that PowerShell stuff important? Did I skip something here? All right, let's see if we can figure out Romina. I don't think it's installed. I would like to install it. Oh boy. What's our uptime here? We're gonna have to do offline versions of these where I edit out all the incompetence. Let's see if this will be fun. We'll see if I can remember the password this time. Ricky.Parker. The password is CSEC 8799. 2 9s. Alright, my server is the server. We're just passing in the IP. Let's pass in the IP and see how we do with that. Whoa. 248. All right, 248, 248. $10.100.49.248. Okay, so apparently Romina is the way to go in this instance. And we're in. You have to say that we're in. We're going to get a supercut of people saying we're in and add it to a clip. So I have it at my fingertips on my Stream Deck here that I've created from a $37 tablet. Should do a video about that at some point. All right, so we're in. Now what? Now what do you want me to do? In this task, we will explore our first enumeration method, which is the only method that makes use of a GUI until the very last task. We'll be using the Microsoft Management Console, MMC, with the Remote Server Administration Tools, RSAT, 80 snap-ins. If you use the provided Windows VM, Jump 1, it has already been installed for you. However, if you are using your own Windows machine, you can perform the following steps to install the snap-ins. Let me read that again. If you use the provided Windows VM, JMP1, which is what we're on, right? It's already been installed for you. So, okay. You can start MMC by using the Windows Start button, searching Run, and typing in MMC. If we just run MMC normally, it would not work as our computer is not domain joined and our local account cannot be used to authenticate to the domain. I think they're still talking about what if you're using your own Windows machine. This is where the run as window for the previous task comes into play. In that window, we can start MMC, which will ensure that all MMC network connections will use our injected AD credentials. I'm sorry, I'm not following you. And then, so you can now attach the AD RSAT snap-in click file at. Is this something we're supposed to be doing? All right, we're going to start from the top and see how far we get with any of this. It seems like they're talking about two different situations, and I'm not sure which of those is applicable. So we're going to start by trying to run MMC, Hyper-V. That doesn't help us. If you use the provided Windows VM, Jump 1, which is what we're doing, we're on that. It has already been installed for you. And yet, typing in MMC doesn't seem to elicit what we want it to. results. This is all about installing the snap-ins, but we can't even get MMC to run. Oh, searching run and then typing in MMC. Okay. Very embarrassing. So apparently this wouldn't have worked if we hadn't already done the run as.exe trick injecting credentials into the memory. Am I understanding that right? Feel free to correct me in chat. This is where the run as window from the previous test comes into play. In that window we can start MMC, which will ensure that all MMC connections will use our injected AD credentials. I'm going to just ignore that. Click File, Add, Remove Snap-in. Collect, Add all 3 Active Directory snap-ins. Okay, can we highlight them all at once? We cannot. Alright, Add. 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 Click through any errors or warnings. They seem to be added. Right click on Active Directory Domains and Trusts. That's the first one. And change forest. Enter Tryhackme.com as the root domain and click OK. Right click on Active Directory Sites and Services and select Change Forest. Enter Tryhackme.com as the root domain and click OK. Right click on, I see where we're going with this. If I had to guess, I think we're going to change the forest and add za.tryhackme.com as the domain. However, it seems like it's timing out now. Console root not responding. Change domain. Alright, right click on Active Directory Users and Computers in the left hand pane. Click View Advanced Features. If everything up to this point worked correctly, your MMC should now be pointed to and authenticated against the target domain. How do I know if that is the case? Your MMC should not be pointed to and authenticated against the target domain. I should have tried doing this off stream. Today was kind of a weird day. How do I know if that's the case? I think as long as it appears here, that's the idea, that's confirmation. We can now start using enumerating information about the AD structure here, users and computers. Let's take a look at the Active Directory structure. For this task, we'll focus on AD users and computers. Expand that snap-in and expand the ZA domain to see the initial organizational unit structure. All right, I have done so. Let's take a look at the people directory. Here we see that the users are divided according to department OUs. Clicking on each of these OUs will show the users that belong to that department. Where's the people directory? Oh, it's alphabetical. That simplifies things. So we have consulting, engineering, finance, human resources, IT, marketing, and sales. Clicking on any of these users will allow us to review all of their properties and attributes. We can also see what groups they're a member of. So I think to sum up, what we've been doing is we injected credentials and then we were able to access like sysvol, and now we can look at all the organizational units. Does that sound right to you? Let me know in the comments. Clicking any of these users, I didn't want to click on that, allows us to review all of the properties and attributes. We can also see what groups they're a member of. We also can use the MMC to find hosts in the environment. If we click on either servers or workstations, the list of domain joined machines will be displayed. Okay, so let's do that. Clicking on servers, and there's everything. Those are the computers that have joined the domain. If we had the relevant permissions, we could also use MMC to directly make changes to AD, such as changing the user's password or adding an account to a specific group. Play around with MMC to better understand the AD domain structure and make use of the search feature to look for objects. Benefits. The GUI provides an excellent method to gain a holistic view of the AD environment. Rapid searching of different AD objects can be performed. It provides a direct method to view specific updates of AD objects. If we have sufficient privileges, we can directly update existing AD objects or add new ones. Drawbacks. The GUI requires RDP access to the machine where it is executed. Although searching for an object is fast, gathering AD-wide properties or attributes cannot be performed. So, despite some of this being a little bit obtuse, it looks like we were successful in accomplishing what they wanted us to do. How many computer objects are part of the server's OU? Computer objects, 2. Why would I need a hint for that? How many computer objects are part of the workstation's OU? 1. How many departments, organizational units, does this organization consist of? All right, that's under people. So 7. How many admin tiers does this organization have? This one, how many admin tiers? Oh, tier 0, 1, 2. All right, so 3. What is the value of the flag stored in the description attribute of the T0tennis.green account? So one of the pros was that this is searchable, right? Rapid searching of different AD objects can be performed. But how? I don't see a little magnifying glass. File, action, find, name, paste. No, why didn't... Copy and paste. And it just appended it. So that's not great. Find now. Oh, and there's the, okay. There's the flag. I felt as if my comprehension skills throughout this task were lacking, and yet we were able to accomplish it, so that's good. That's fun for me. However, it has been emotionally and mostly emotionally taxing, so I'm going to take a quick break here, and yeah, I'll see you in a moment. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you'll stick around. Testing, testing. All right, and we're back. I was outside checking for the cats and doing some stuff with the shed. That's why the light. All right. So, despite, like I said, some obtuseness, we managed to get through task 3. And we're going to enumerate through the command line now. Command prompt. There are times when you just need to perform a quick and dirty AD lookup, and command prompt has your back. Good old reliable CMD is a handy tool when you perhaps don't have RDP access to a system. Defenders are monitoring for PowerShell use. They can do that. And you need to perform your AD enumeration through a remote access Trojan. Can even be helpful to embed a couple of simple AD enumeration commands in your phishing payload to help you gain the vital information that can help you stage the final attack. Let me read that again. Can even be helpful to embed a couple of simple AD enumeration commands in your phishing payload. Okay. CMD has a built-in command that we can use to enumerate information about AD, namely net. The net command is a handy tool to enumerate information about the local system and AD. We will look at a couple of interesting things we can enumerate from this position, but this is not an exhaustive list. Note, for this task, you will have to use the THM jump 1, and you won't be able to use your own Windows VM. This will be explained in the drawbacks. Okay. Users. We can use the net command to list all users in the AD domain by using the user sub option. Net user / domain. The request will be processed at a domain controller for domain za.tryhackme.com. At the risk of further embarrassment, I am going to try to run that command. Okay. What's not entirely clear to me is how much of this is dependent upon having that credential injection work. This will return all AD users for us and can be helpful in determining the size of the domain to stage further attacks. We can also use this subdomain to enumerate more detailed information about a single user account. Okay, net user Zoe Marshall domain. That's a fun name. Zoe Marshall. Cool. Alright, note, if the user is only part of a small number of AD groups, this command will be able to show us group membership. However, usually after more than 10 group memberships, the command will fail to list them all. Oh, okay. We can use the net command to enumerate the groups of the domain by using the group sub option. I should probably not be copying and pasting all of these. There's a lot to be said about muscle memory, learning things by physically doing something is called total physical response in educational circles. This information can help us find specific groups to target for goal execution. We could also enumerate more details, such as membership to a group, by specifying the group in the same command. So I think this will show us who's part of the group, and it does. Password policy. We can then use the net command to enumerate the password policy of the domain by using account sub option. Minimum password age 0, unlimited length 0. Length of, so there's hardly any password requirements here. No lockout, so that's important to know. This will provide us with helpful information such as, yeah, I read all that. This information can benefit us if we want to stage additional password spraying attacks against the other user accounts that we have now enumerated. It can help us better guess what single passwords we should use in the attack and how many attacks we can run before risking locking accounts. However, it should be noted that if we perform a blind password spraying attack, we may lock out accounts anyways, since we did not check to determine how many attempts that specific account had left before being locked. But what are the chances, though? You can find the full range of options associated with the net command here. Play around with these net commands to gather information about specific users and groups. Benefits. No additional or external tooling is required, and these simple commands are often not monitored for by the blue team. We do not need a GUI to do this enumeration. VBS script and other macro languages that are often used for phishing payloads support these commands natively, so they can be used to enumerate initial information regarding the AD domain before more specific payloads are crafted. Drawbacks. They must be executed from a domain-joined machine. If the machine is not domain-joined, it will default to the workgroup domain. The net commands may not show all information. For example, if a user is a member of more than 10 groups, not all the groups will be shown in the output. Apart from the domain users group, what other group is the Aaron Harris account a member of? Let's find out. Domain users, internet access users, that's a group, I suppose. No, internet access. Is the guest account active? Yay, nay. What happened? Imagine we just specify guest as the user. No. How many accounts are a member of the Tier 1 admins group? Okay, I'm trying to be in this window here. How many accounts? Let's see. 2, 4, 6, 7. Was the lockout duration of the current policy password in minutes? What? I thought they didn't have lockout. Okay, what was the command again? Net accounts domain lockout threshold never none. What? So it's 30 minutes, but it never kicks in. This is a trick question. All right. So far, so good. I'm feeling lucky. We're going to get through at least task 5 here. What's our uptime? All right. I think we can get this done in 30 minutes, never having seen this before. Although, okay. PowerShell. PowerShell is the upgrade of command prompt. Microsoft first released it in 2006. While PowerShell has all the standard functionality command prompt provides, it also provides access to commandlets, which are .NET classes to perform specific functions. While we can write our own commandlets, like the creators of PowerView did, we can already get very far using the built-in ones. Since we installed the add or set tooling in Task 3, it automatically installed the associated commandlets for us. There are 50 commandlets installed. We'll be looking at some of these, but refer to this list for the complete list of commandlets. And you know what? I'm going to bookmark that because that seems... What? Name, folder name. Oh, Control D. All right, save. Using our SSH terminal, we can upgrade it to a PowerShell terminal using the following command, PowerShell. What was that weird command we used yesterday for then? There was some sort of, it said escape value in it. Users, we can use the get add user commandlet to enumerate add users. Get add user. Get, not det. Don't detonate them. Get. Get. Add. Oh my God, what is wrong with me? Stop. Oh, there's more to it. Let's just copy this commandlet and paste it in. Cool. The parameters are used for the following: identity, the account name, properties, which properties associated with the account will be shown. The wildcard will show all our properties. Server, since we are not domain joined, we have to use this parameter to point it to our domain controller. I'm going to have to do some research regarding the phrase domain joined because I don't know all that entails. I have a vague understanding that it's self-explanatory in some regard, but I think there's more to it that escapes me. For most of these commandlets, we can also use the -filter parameter that allows more control over enumeration and use the format table commandlet to display the results such as the following neatly. Okay, let's do that. Oh, it formats it too. Cool. We can use the get add group commandlet to enumerate AD groups. We can also enumerate group membership using the get add group member commandlet. What happened? Oh, they have an SID. AD objects. A more generic search for any AD objects can be performed using the get AD object commandlet. For example, if we're looking for all AD objects that were changed after a specific date, we can run this. Wait, no, we can run these one at a time. Right? Or what? What's going on here? Okay. Do our screens match up? They seem the same. If we wanted to, for example, perform a password spraying attack without locking out accounts, we can use this to enumerate accounts that have a bad password count that is greater than 0 to avoid these accounts in our attack. Alright, this will only show results if one of the users in the network mistyped their password a couple of times. Domains, we can use get AD domain to retrieve additional information about the specific domain. So we got the forest, we got the DNS roots, we got the domain controller's container, computer's container. Okay. Altering AD objects. The great thing about ADR set commandlets is that some even allow you to create new or alter existing AD objects. However, our focus for this network is on enumeration. Creating new objects or altering existing ones would be considered AD exploitation, which is covered later in the AD module. However, we will show you an example of this by force changing the password of our AD user by using the set account password commandlet. All right, so this is Jedi stuff. We're going to force change a password. And that did not work. Why not? Or did it? Invalid. Wait. Identity. Invalid data. Gordon Stevens AD account. Remember to change the identity value and password for the account you were provided with. Okay. What's the identity value? What does that mean, identity value? So it didn't work because we were supposed to use our credentials. I'm not going to mess around with that right now because I'm afraid of locking myself out of the account. Unless it's part of the answers here. Alright, it is not. Benefits. PowerShell commandlets can enumerate significantly more information than the net command. Wait, did I read this part? Remember? Yeah. The PowerShell commandlets can enumerate significantly more information than the net commands from command prompt. We can specify the server and domain to execute these commands using runs from a non-domain join machine. Okay, so this is dependent upon the credential injections. We can create our own commandlets to enumerate specific information. We can use the add our set commandlets to directly change AD objects, such as resetting passwords or adding a user to a specific group. Drawbacks. PowerShell is often monitored more by the blue teams than command prompt. We have to install the AD set tooling to use other potentially detectable scripts for PowerShell enumeration. What is the value of the title attribute of Beth Nolan? This has a short memory. What was her name? Beth Nolan? Title, Senior. What is the value of the distinguished name attribute of Annette Menning? It wants all of this, okay. That's not what I wanted. Where do we go? What happened? I keep forgetting in the command line it's Control Shift C. Beep, beep, beep. Backing it up. All right. Correct answer. When was the Tier 2 admins group created? How do we get groups? Do I have to type in? What's the name of the tier? I'm just gonna go for the. When was the objects, domains, objects, groups? We can use the get add group commandlet to enumerate AD groups, so administrators. But what's the proper name of the tier 2 administrators? Is it just tier 2 admin? Whoa, that's not, I was in the wrong window. I don't want to have to resort to the hint. So how do we get the names of all the groups? It looks like it's just called Tier 2 admins. Well, that's what I typed in. So what am I missing? Get AD group, invalid argument. Why is that invalid? Oh no, did our DNS change? Has it been 3 hours since we spun up the network? Let's try the original command and see if that works. Okay, so that works. So it has something to do with the name. Maybe I just typed it wrong. No. When was the tier 2 admins group? What if we just use a wildcard for the identity? Get all the AD groups.
So funny.
No. What if we just leave out that parameter?
Is it a video or something?
Okay, so we kind of did a workaround. I'll try to explain my reasoning here. So just typing in tier 2 admins didn't work. We're getting an exception. I have no idea why. And so then we just took out the identity specifying parameter. First we tried it with a wildcard, that didn't work. Then we took out the identity parameter, and it prompted us for the parameter, and adding the wildcard then worked. I don't know why. So I did see tier 2 admins all the way down here somewhere. Oh, tier 1, tier 0, tier 2. SID. This is the same name. Maybe we can pass in the SID? Oh, that should have been shift. Oh my god. Control shift C. What happened? No. How do I copy the tier 2 admins? SID. Control S C. I'm just gonna see if it worked. It did work. Is it gonna work down here? It's gonna work. Alright, so now what if we pass that in as the identity? So that gives us a bunch of information, but not when it was created. What do you say? Should we just use the hint? Or should we? Let's see if it says somewhere up here. No, go back. Go up. Okay. Maybe if we treat it as a more general object rather than a group? We were very clever in getting this far, but it has not elicited the answer we want. I don't want to use the hint. Users, groups, AD objects. A more generic search for any AD objects can be performed using the get AD object commandlet. I think this is what we're going to do. I think this is the answer because this has it specifies the date. Change date. Wait. No. That's part of the command. You know what? Let's see. It says there are 50 different commandlets. Let's get a list of commandlets. Let's look for created. Let's search for the word when. Let's search for the word date. Solid dates, update, clears the expiration date, displays the highest updates, back to expiration dates, updates, updates, more updates, and we're back to the beginning. All right, you know what? I'm just gonna get the hint. Using get AD group, remember to set properties to receive all properties. Answer should be in a blah 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 format if you remote from okay. To receive all properties. God damn it, we were so close. No. Control Shift C. Oh my God. Come on. Oh, left hand, you have failed me. Copy selection. Paste. What's the value of the SID attribute of the enterprise admins group? All right. I wonder if our workaround hack will come into play in this instance. I was kind of pleased with myself with that bit of troubleshooting, but it will. All right. What did we do last time? We did this, but we took out the identity parameter and it prompted, and then we put in the wildcard because it wouldn't allow us to pass in the wildcard as a parameter initially. Filter nothing. And the good idea is that I think these are more or less are they alphabetical? Enterprise admins group. Oh, maybe instead of doing all this, what if we just, maybe it's just no. See, if we just pass in the wildcard, it doesn't work. But if we take out the wildcard, it will prompt us, and then we can pass it in. In theory, we're supposed to take out not just the wildcard, but the entire parameter. And then it will prompt us. Okay. I wonder if there's a way to search all this. Enterprise. Oh, enterprise admins. All right. So now we have the SID. We can pass that in as the identity. Oh my God. Here's enterprise. Where's enterprise admins? Here we are. I don't know why we can't just pass in the name or account name. But whatever, we have the SID now. And I'm remembering, first I'm going to right click and copy selection in case I forget to Control Shift C. All right. Isn't that bonkers that you can't pass in the name? This just kind of distills what we saw up there. SID. Oh, well, that was what we were after anyways. All right. Very embarrassing. Which container is used to store deleted AD objects? I do not understand the question. Which container? I'm going to go for the hint because I'm tired and I want to be done with this. Use get add domain and review the information. Okay. I have a feeling if I just put this in, they're going to want more. Deleted objects container. Do they want this whole thing? Let's paste it in one at a time here. Oh God, I did the thing again. Control Shift C when you're in the command line. Yay! All right, and that's as far as we're going to get today. I can tell that nobody is particularly interested in. We only have one enumeration through Bloodhound. It's a lot of scrolling though. I think this is going to take a while, so we're going to leave that for another day. I appreciate everybody who tuned in. I especially appreciate Eric for interacting with me, if only briefly. It does make everything a lot easier for me on my end. All right. Thanks once again, and I'll see you. You know what? I haven't updated the calendar tomorrow yet, but I'm going to do another stream tomorrow. So check me out.